Hello Summoners and welcome to another episode of Underrated Picks. As always, we're covering underrated and sleeper OP picks in every role, so stay tuned. Hi, my name is Nathan Ng and I would consider myself an underrated pick as nobody ever chose me for their sports teams growing up. Season 10 is looking promising and a lot of champions definitely deserve more playtime than they currently receive. I'm looking at you, team captains. Anyway, make sure to leave any comments, feedback, and suggestions that you have down below as we're always checking them out. For our question of the day, what change would you like to make to an unpopular champion to boost their play rate? One thing I'd like to see is Kog'Maw's ultimate becoming a true execute with some conditions. Maybe if you max out some stacks on it, executing enemies below 10% could add some very well needed variety. But before we get started though, are you getting ganked in your own lane, constantly demolished? Well, don't worry, we've got you covered. ProGuides is the #1 proven way to quickly help you level up your League of Legends skills. Whether you're looking for tier lists, champion guides, coaching, or courses from your favorite pro players, ProGuides is where you'll find them. Even players like Nightblue, Bunny Fufu, and Locodoco support ProGuides. So what are you waiting for? Click the link to start improving right now. Now, let's get started on the video. Alright, let's kick it off with the top lane. Malzahar is an oddball pick that I believe more players should start playing. Nothing is different, it's the usual build and setup. Just take him onto the top lane. Although he admittedly struggles against the likes of bruisers like Mordekaiser and Darius, Malzahar also has some good matchups against other popular top laners. Ryze, Teemo, Fiora, and Akali are all good examples. Part of this is because players aren't too familiar with the matchup in the top lane. The reason Malzahar can even have a place up there is that his passive provides him a ton of safety. It's also an excellent trading tool because of his incredible damage reduction and immunity it provides. He's free to hard push lanes with his E and Void Swarm. Against certain champions, he's able to win out because of the combination of his silence, damage over time, and Voidlings jumping all over his main target. Slowly, he can also pick out his champions and set up easy kills for his jungler. When the mid lane comes around, you're Malzahar and that's great. You press R and win game pretty much. What's great about Malzahar top lane is that it opens up your mid laner to play an AD champion. Consider picking him if you need to even out your damage split. Next up is Illaoi. I don't really know why, but her play rate has plummeted and she's still the same old 1v9 beast that we all know and hate. She deals a bunch of damage, absolutely dominates her lane, and it's difficult to gank because of her sustain. Illaoi is one of those tough champions to take down. Her ultimate and healing from her tentacle slam makes it very difficult to go against as she'll never die. If you're an aggressive player who likes to try to 1v2 ganks, definitely consider picking up Illaoi. It's a matter of finding your favorite trades early on, and if you're successful, your enemy will be low enough for you to burst down, and they'll start respecting you in lane, which might be nice to have some respect. If they don't, well, get a free kill or two when you get ganked. Although Illaoi's teamfighting can feel lackluster at times, it's about choosing the right ones to attend. She applies a ton of side lane pressure, and when ahead, the enemy team will always have to send several members to stop her. Once extremely fed, she can look for fights and chokes and obliterate her enemies if they end up clumping. Alright, that concludes our top laner, so check out those builds one more time as we move on to the jungle. Kicking off the jungle is Kindred. Considering an abundance of divers and assassins in the game, Kindred is a severely underrated pick at the moment. I believe her ultimate is one of the most invaluable tools in this current meta because she can keep her allies alive even in the most dire circumstances. Aside from this, she can also scale well and her damage and range definitely helps her out a ton. Kindred's attack range scales as she picks up marks too, so she'll be able to attack from a pretty safe distance by the later stages of the game. I think something that goes forgotten is the changes to Summoner's Rift this season in accordance to the elements. Kindred's mobility and ability to jump through walls provide her a lot of safety that many other junglers aren't entitled to. Depending on the map, this can prove to be even more valuable. While she struggles specifically against Lee Sin and Echo, Kindred does well into many others. At the end of the day, it's not just her own matchups that matter though, as she provides a ton of utility for her team. Second up in the jungle is Taliyah. When your team needs some extra magic damage, Taliyah is definitely the pick that you can still count on. Sure, she's no longer the contested best jungler in the game anymore, but she still has a place. Taliyah's clear speed is still pretty fast and her ganks can be quite devastating with a well-aimed W. With abundance of dashes in the game, Taliyah's Unraveled Earth is a heaven send. It soft counters pretty much any dashes because it'll nuke any enemies trying to dash through the floor that she paves. Taliyah's greatest strength, however, is in the fact that she'll be able to continue moving while casting Q. Whether she's chasing or the one being chased, being able to constantly reposition yourself while dealing damage is one of the strongest assets a champion could have. And that's gonna wrap it up for the jungle, so let's check out the builds on the screen one last time. If you like chimping out, this is the champ for you. I believe that this guy's been slept on for a while. He's not totally ridiculously overpowered, but his strengths make him sustainable for solo queue and in the mid lane. His damage is all targeted, comes out quickly, and he's able to deal AoE damage with his ultimate. Typically, enemies in the mid laner are a little bit squishier. Whether his opponents are AD assassins or squishier mages, Wukong has the damage to take him head on. Assassins struggle to deal with him because he can match their damage but also gain attack speed from his E. This means that in longer fights, he'll almost always emerge victorious. There also aren't any other skill shots that he needs to land, so as Wukong's enemies get lower and lower, he'll always be able to threaten them with the fact that he can jump on them with his E. Oftentimes, he's able to repeatedly one-shot his lane opponent over and over again after picking up a solo kill. Wukong's roams and team findings are well above average because of his burst and crowd control. His spin is arguably better than Garen's, but it is his ultimate after all. Although there are some changes lined up for him in the future, his overall gameplay looks like it's staying the same, so don't be discouraged picking him up. Following up is the bird herself, Anivia. Anivia is famous for her ability to sell out games with her incredible wave clear. This has become a bit more important in the current meta with the increased importance of dragons. Sometimes it takes a while for Elder Dragon to spawn because there's so much going on during the game. The fact that she can consistently clear waves means that she's able to scale up and buy more time for her team. However, like all champions with wave clear, Baron buffed minions can prove to be challenging. In spite of all of this, Anivia still does pretty decently into them, and the fact that her ult continues to stay in place for as long as she wants means that she'll be able to at least zone off a certain area while her enemies are sieging. By zoning off an area, it pushes off the enemies to one side, which means it'll be easier to wall them off and land a stun. Alright, that's gonna wrap it up for mid lane, so check out those builds one more time as we move on to the bot lane. You know, looking at this list, I don't even know if we've actually moved out of the mid lane. Our first pick is Cassiopeia. She's quite the hype a while back while Lucian was one of the most popular picks, but she has settled down to a more low-key position. With the changes to Conqueror though, players should definitely reconsider. The extra power she now has definitely makes her much more of a potent threat in the bottom lane. Think of Cassiopeia as a marksman that deals AP damage, because that's essentially what she is. While she won't take down turrets as quickly, she'll make up for this with her crowd control, grounding miasma, and the fact that she'll be able to be a little bit tankier. You'll need to make some adjustments however. Cassiopeia is a little bit weaker early on until she finishes her tier at least. Her heavy reliance on mana is another factor that separates her from a marksman, so you'll need to be careful with your resource management. Especially versus marksmen who have low range, Cassiopeia can be an impressive threat to play against. Anytime they walk up to farm, they're in danger from an all-in of Cassiopeia. After level 6, it also becomes incredibly more difficult to fight her because she can disengage with her ultimate. Next up is Heimerdinger. Our underrated picks this patch are both mages, but trust us on this one. They both sported very promising win rates last patch, and honestly there haven't been that many changes from patch 9.24 to 10.1. Heimerdinger's game is to push, 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 and push some more. Oh, and he pokes a lot too, so you can basically nullify any hopes of your opponent having to lane when you pick him. By constantly keeping your enemy under turret, you can slowly chip away at their turret as well. While picking him means that you'll end up taking less plates when you knock out your opponent out of lane, or if your jungler successfully ganks for you, you'll end up with more opportunities overall to hit that turret. Also remember how important Dragon is this season. Having lane priority is crucial, and Heimerdinger is one of the best at securing it. Push up your lane, and start up those dragons to secure more early game objectives. Even if you're ganked, Heimerdinger is one of the best at turning it around. If your opponents haven't been playing respectfully, they'll likely be low when following up with their junglers engage. This is where you can set up an upgraded turret, along with the normal ones to try to outplay your opponents. That's a wrap for bot laners, so take a look at those builds one more time as we are moving on to supports. First for supports is Taric. Taric seems to have found his footing in the current metagame as a result of the abundance of melee supports. Aftershock got nerfed in the early game, so as one of the few melee supports that prefers to run Guardian, his comparative power level has increased. Sure, the cooldown on Aftershock was lowered. This helps supports using it against squishier opponents. However, against a champion who feels a bit beefier like Taric, the shorter cooldown doesn't mean that much to him. He's happy to let you come at him as he's able to usually win fistfights. His actual problem is that it's difficult for him to get into his enemies to begin with, so if they come at him, that saves him the trouble. Taric's power as a pick relies on how much he can protect his allies and also empower them. As we mentioned a lot this patch in our videos, being able to keep your allies alive is essential in this diver-heavy meta. While he can sometimes protect his teammates with his ultimate can reliably buff up his own divers to go in as hard as they want. It's a lot harder to counterplay someone diving your backline when they take no damage. Alright, to end it all, let's dive into Nami. Just don't dive in the enemy backline with her, because that's probably not going to work. Nami received a little buff this patch. Her E will now apply slow with her abilities as well. So she'll be a more versatile pick who can assist mages. Yes, we just did that, and we're not hiding it. Pair her up with some mage bot laners and see where we can go with it. We just mentioned Cassiopeia a couple picks ago, and we think that her spells applying Nami slow will be disgustingly powerful. Nami did well during the last preseason, holding a high win rate and play rate as well. This is because of her opponent's oppressive laning and great disengage to her later in the game. Nami's heal, poke, and crowd control allowed her to take favorable trades against nearly any opponent. Once she hits 6, it becomes a lot harder to dive for teammates as she can throw a vital tidal wave at her opponents and basically say what girls always say to me when I ask them out. Nope. That's going to conclude this video, and thank you so much for watching, guys. Best of luck in your rank grind, and we hope that these picks will help you win your game. As always, make sure to check out ProGuides.com alongside our YouTube channel for more informative content. Again, my name is Nathan Ing, like a verb, and you can follow me on Instagram at Nathan_ing, or add me on League of Legends at N8DGR8. We're always going to be uploading new content, so make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, good luck, Summoners.